I just didn't see it. I went for a play that I know is going to do nothing because I just forgot I ran Zeus. I forgore Zeus. Why do I forgore Zeus? What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm coming at you with a dueling book game between myself, and I was at 921 rating, and my opponent, who was at 1368 rating. So this is actually like a decently high rated game. And yeah, it was a really good one too, and I wanted to cover this game for a couple of reasons. But yeah, honestly, a lot of cool things happened this game, but mostly for myself because there were a lot of misplays for sure this game. This is my first game actually testing like the P.U.N.K deck in the more recent iterations of the deck. Like I think this was my second or third game with the deck ever. I've been testing a few different builds. And yeah, I definitely could see where I messed up in some points, but going over the replay, I think more in depth will not only help me, but be like somewhat entertaining for you guys as well. So before we hop into it, I do want to let you guys know Discord link down below, along with all of our other social media links. Also, I am trying to hit 13,000 subscribers, so I think I'm at 12.8k, so we're getting really close. So if you do like this Yu-Gi-Oh content, you enjoy seeing what you see here, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out in what I do here on the channel. And without further ado, let's hop into this replay. So we're going to do the rock, paper, scissors, and a couple of ties, and I do lose the rock, paper, scissors, which is tough. However, I am playing P.U.N.K, so I play a whole, just massive amount of go second cards, of which we see exactly Imperm. So going over the hands, I have Sharakusai, Ogre Dance, Foxy Tune, Imperm, Ogre Dance. So, I mean, going first, this would be fine. It plays, and it has several different ways to play. But going second, we have exactly Imperm as a go second card. Our opponent opens up Freezing Curses, Kelbeck the Ancient Vanguard, Flashing Fire, Runick Tip, and Keldo. So from his opening hand, you wouldn't really be able to tell what he's playing, but I know because I've played the game that he's on the ishizu naturia Runick deck with potentially Bystials. I almost forgot if he has Bystials or not. Yeah, I actually don't remember if I saw Bystial this game, but yeah, he's on naturia Runick ishizu. So yeah, this is an interesting deck. I think this is a really cool matchup because these are decks that exactly aren't Tearlaments or Kashtira or Sprite. This isn't post-Photon Hypernova, but my list I don't think is going to be changing too much post-Photon Hypernova. So yeah, honestly, my list will look a little different, but yeah, this format's technically already over, so it's a little weird, right? Like, we're playing a format that there's no real events for. But yeah, anyway, getting on with it, our opponent does go first. He's going to start with Kelbeck, discard, or excuse me, Keldo, discard Kelbeck, search for Mudora, and he's going to use the Kelbeck effect, and I say that's good. I have no response to it. My opponent's going to mill a couple, yeah, he is on Bystials, so he mills 2 Runick spells and the Sacred Tree, which is insane because his hand had no Naturia engine if he didn't mill the tree with Kelbeck, so that worked out really well for him. And I'm going to mill 5 cards as well, of which we see Foxy Tune, Fenrir, Xiamen, Ash, and Wagon. So nothing really too interesting on my end, but you know, it could have been worse. He's going to resolve the Sacred Tree he activated, getting Mole Cricket. He's going to Flashing Fire, search for, or special the Hugin, who is going to activate her effect, discarding Mudora to search for the field spell. However, I am going to Imperm. I don't know he's loaded on these Runick spells, so I see his hands like this, and I'm just going to risk that he has no access to the field spell, because at this point he almost needs to have, like, he's gonna have to essentially have a way to synchro this off, which we know he does, with another Runick spell, with 2 Runick spells, because he has to be able to activate another one to resolve his fountain. And I'm essentially putting him on have exactly the last 2 unknowns in your hand being 2 Runick spells, or you're not shuffling back to draw 3. And that's the play I make, which I have 1 hand trap. I feel like I have to use it to try to stop him from drawing 3 cards. So I do, but it's unfortunate his last 2 unknowns were exactly Tip and Freezing Curses. But yep, he's going to Hugin. I'm going to Imperm it. He's going to normal summon the Mole Cricket. Thinking about if there was another place better to Imperm, like I don't think I would want to use it on Camellia either because I stop a search for a spell, but he still just synchros for like Coral Dragon and then makes Baron with this and still gets a draw. So yeah, I feel like I Impermed at probably the right spot. It just didn't work out for me because his hand was the perfect out to my Imperm as far as getting access to the field spell regardless of what I did. So yeah, I'm noticing this piece of hair is really messing with me, isn't it? We're back to I need a haircut gaming, essentially. Every couple of months I'm back to I need a haircut gaming. But yeah, he makes the Coral Dragon. Coral Dragon can synchro with the Keldo to make Chang Ying. Is there a reason this isn't Barone? I mean, he has the ishizu shufflers, right? So you can always proc this. But Barone is like a really good card, right? I'm not quite sure. Maybe he just sees them on P.U.N.K and he thinks that it's much easier to Chang Ying me than it is to Barone me. But yeah, he goes for Chang Ying. And then he is going to draw a Mole Cricket off his Coral Dragon. Gonna go ahead and activate the Freezing Curses for P.U.N.K. Activate P.U.N.K. As you see, her effect is not once per turn. So we can activate her again, discarding the Mole Cricket to search the fountain. And at this point, I'm like, there's no way your last 2 cards or your random draw off the Coral Dragon was 2 Runick spells, right? And it is Runick tip, so I put my opponent on better have it, and he had it, so that's really tough for us. He banishes my trap. I only played 1 of this in my current build, so that kind of sinks. Like, it's not great, but I don't think I'm getting to that anyways. My opponent's going to draw 3, and he draws Runick Destruction, Runick Slumber. He has curses. So yeah, essentially because my imperm didn't go through, this is going to be pretty tough. So yeah, I draw my next card. It's another imperm, which would have been funny to actually open because I would have been able to imperm the P.U.N.K twice, which would have been hilarious. And yeah, I'm just going to start my turn with imperm on Chang Ying because my hand's already weak. I have to hope he only has Freezing Curses and uses it incorrectly, essentially. So I'm going to go for my play here. I'm going to normal summon the Sharakusai. Use the Foxy Tune effect, to which my opponent activates the Blessing, which allows him to special summon Camellia, go Chainlink 1 Camellia, Chainlink 2 Camellia on a new chain to special summon, and at that point, there's just no way that I can come back from this, so I'm going to scoop right here. Going into game 2, I do get to go first here, and opening hands, I have Triple Tactics Talent, Fenrir, Ogre Dance, Ghost Ogre, and Foxy Tune. Seeing combo with Fenrir is insane. I absolutely love Fenrir, and I actually just love the Kashtiras in this deck in general, especially Unicorn and Fenrir. My current build has actually removed Unicorn from the list. Gosh, this hair is tough. But Fenrir is definitely a mainstay in like all of my builds. Tactics is good. Drawing the 1 Ghost Ogre is a little weird because you kind of just want to search this, but it's fine overall. My opponent opens Flashing Fire, Runick Destruction, Flashing Fire, the Sunflower, and the Sacred Tree. So Sunflower is definitely not a great draw. Some people side this out going second, I've seen, because it's not something you really want to see when you're playing into a board all the time. But I find also if you side this out going second, it's really bad. Like, I feel like this is a weird card you have to keep in going second, even though it sucks to draw, because it's just so important for your Naturia engine. And we do see our opponent left it in the deck. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to start my turn by special summoning Fenrir. We also see my opponent has no hand trap, so this Tactics isn't going to do anything. Fenrir effect, add an additional copy of himself. I'm going to use the Ogre Dance to probably search Wagon or Xiamen, both kind of work. I'm going to use Wagon here to search the field spell, to which my opponent says that's okay. And then I'm going to activate the field spell, or Synchro for Baron first. This is essentially just like starting my line with Baron to protect me from any individual hand trap that might stop my play, so yeah, sometimes you make Baron first, sometimes you don't. Sort of depends on your hand. Here I think it's fine because, again, Fenrir provided an extra discard for Foxy Tune as well, so I'm able to keep my other good cards in hand, which is great. Another reason Fenrir is so strong in this deck. I'm going to use the Foxy Tune to special summon Xiamen. Use Xiamen's effect to search probably Shirakusai, a misclick there. Yeah, I'm going to search Shirakusai, and then I'm going to draw a card with the field spell. And we draw in a Madam Spider. Kind of weird as well, because I kind of want to get this later, but I guess it's fine. It's kind of weird to draw extra pieces of like one of the engines like that, but overall it was free, so I'm not super upset. I'm going to banish a P.U.N.K card in grave to special summon a P.U.N.K monster from my hand, which is going to be the Shirakusai, who I'm going to use as effect to fusion off the Xiamen and the Madam Spider, which allows me to leave Shirakusai on the field, which is good for like your end board where you have the Jam Drive and himself, so you can make Amazing Dragon. This also puts the Madam Spider in the grave, so I can bring it back with Deer Note later. So I'm going to fusion summon into the Rising Carp. Was this a misplay? Does he have to use himself? I don't think he does. Using monsters. Yeah, he doesn't have to use himself. So we special summon the Rising Carp, and we paid 600 for Shirakusai, so we're going to get an additional draw, which is going to be Xiamen. Again, not great, but it's follow-up. The draws have not been super fantastic this turn though. So we're going to tribute the Rising Carp and it's safe from Ash because we have Barone. And we're going to special summon Deer Note and Xiamen. Then we're going to synchro those off for the Jam Drive. We're going to go Chainlink 1 Jam Drive, Chainlink 2 Deer Note, target Madam Spider, Chainlink 3 Xiamen, targeting the Jam Drive, but it's just a chain block here, so I'm going to go ahead and special Madam Spider and search Shirakusai. Again, we already have the one Ghost Ogre, so yeah, we're kind of just searching whatever we can there for additional follow-up. Madam Spider effect, pay 600 to search Dangerous Gabu, which is the trap I'm choosing to play. I think it's a little better right now. It's also better in time, so that's really nice. It doesn't matter for DB specifically, but yeah, like in a real life setting for sure. And I'm just going to end here, which is, it doesn't look super great. Like my draws were kind of weird. Tactics was dead, but we still end on a Baron Negate, a synchro into Amazing Dragon, which could be a bounce 3. I think it would be like, let's see, 1, 2, 3. It'd actually be up to a bounce 4, which is huge. We have the Trap, which is the 3rd interruption, and we have Ghost Ogre. So it's like 4 interruptions with good follow-up, which is not amazing, but it's not terrible. Again, it could have been much better if I like didn't draw Ghost Ogre as a one of and had better draws with my Jam Drive, or he had a hand trap, right? So my opponent is going to main phase, go ahead and Flashing Fire the Baron, which I'm like, sure, negate. Maybe I shouldn't have because it plays hard into talents extremely early on in the turn. At the same time, I'm like, ooh, a body I don't want gone. So yeah, I choose to kind of leave him there. Or her there, excuse me. Destruction to special summon, which I remember I was kind of scared about this because I didn't want my interrupt going away to MST like that really quickly. So luckily for me, he did need to special summon here. So my opponent is going to go Destruction, use the Hugin effect, discarding the Sacred Tree, which is a really good interaction in that deck. Search the Runick Fountain, and then Tree effect to go search probably the spell. Yep, Naturia Blessing. From here, my opponent is going to go Camellia. I say that's fine. It's not something I'm really keen on using my Gabu on, and I'm trying to save my Ogre for Fountain if I can catch him in a spot where Hugin is off board, which it looks like he wants to synchro with it, right? So I'm kind of fine with this so far. He's going to go dump the Mole Cricket for his Blessing. Going to go for Blessing, and I'm like, sure, that's fine, and I don't really have anything to do to this Cricket because, you know, I have no interrupts for it per se. He's going to activate and then go for 2 Camellias. And I was like, assuming he would end up going for Sunflower, right? So my plan was to like, use the Shirakusai to make Amazing Dragon here, bounce everything, and even if he specialed Sunflower, I'd be able to use my trap on it, and then my Amazing Dragon would still bounce everything, and we'd be good to go more than likely. However, that's not how it worked out because he has the Sunflower in hand. And now he just has a lot of Camellia, to be honest. So he's going to go here, synchro for the Stardust Charge Warrior. Get a draw. Honestly, this is really interesting. I'm wondering why I let him get to this draw in the first place. I think going for Amazing Dragon there because it is a bounce 4, right? Because we have Xiamen, we have Wagon, which is 2, we have Madam Spider, and we'd have Shirakusai. So would have bounced 4. We could bounce all 4 monsters, which would be huge. And he doesn't get the random draw. So I don't know, I feel like I was saving it for any, like, maybe he has another extender in hand and I want to save my interrupts, I guess, even further, but I think I should have gone for the Amazing Dragon line there, but I did not, so probably a misplay on my part. I'm going to use his effect to Synchro Summon now that he's gotten the draw for free, and then he's going to chain Flashing Fire to my Jam Drive, which, for a second, I even say it here, I was like, you used this on Fleur already, right? For a second, I thought that the Runick spells said use and not activate, because obviously if a card says activate and then you negate it, they get to activate it again. But for a second I thought they said use, because some engine spells and traps say that, like Eldritch, you know, Sanguine says use, and like Dinomorphia traps say use. So but these, they do in fact say activate, so that I only messed up for a couple seconds in game. I was like, oh wait, no, they're definitely activate. Yeah, I say, oh, it's activate, not use. Then my opponent said you negated activation. Yep. And I just let it go. I don't really have a response to that, so my Jam Drive is going to get popped. I'm going to banish the top 2 cards of my deck, which was Foxy Toon and Unicorn. And Shirakusai is going to resolve without effect. So my opponent is going to Runick Fountain, which I've been waiting for this. I'm going to Ghost Ogre the Fountain, which stops him from draw 3. So Ghost Ogre is super high impact here. because my opponent didn't have an extra Runick spell, right? Like, if he has an extra Runick spell, that's not like the best thing to Ghost Ogre, because he can protect it, right? But I didn't really know what else I was going to Ghost Ogre in this turn anyways, so I sort of high rolled it on the field spell, which I don't think was a misplay, but definitely wasn't great. My opponent is going to attempt to Synchro Summon there, but nothing he can really go for that beats my board, or at least enough to get anywhere, so my opponent does just admit defeat. Going on to game 3, I'm going second again. Hopefully we draw more go second cards this game because game 1 was horrendous. I draw Pot of Desires, Ash, Fenrir, Nibiru, Deernote. So this is sort of the opposite, where I definitely drew some go second cards, but I need Desires or my draw to be good because my only engine is Deernote, which does nothing. My opponent has Kelbeck, Freezing Curses, Fountain, Flashing Fire, Fountain. Opening 2 Fountain's a little weird, and it makes sense for his first turn play now. I was wondering why he went for the line he did originally, but now it makes sense. He opened 2 Fountain, which is definitely kind of weird. So he's going to go activate Fountain, activate the Curses to special summon Gary. Then he's going to use Fountain Effect to shuffle this back and draw 1. Yeah, I mean, he's probably thinking he's not activating this turn, right? Like, he could, but it'd be a little weird. So no, I think the draw 1 is fair enough. Shuffle back, draw Keldo, which is a decent draw because it does give him this line of play, which is tough because this line of play really hurt me pretty bad. My opponent's going to go Keldo Effect, Special Mudora, or add Mudora, and then he's going to be able to activate Kelbeck on a new chain, which I could Ash this. And I think I was thinking about it for a quick second. I know he has Mudora, though. I know he can make Baguska, and I'm like, is Ash going to be worth it here? I could save it for a Fountain later. So in the end, I decide not to Ash the Kelbeck. In hindsight's 2020, but I think I probably should have because my opponent is going to mill Runick Tip, Double Mole Cricket, and Blessing. So this is like decent mill, a Runick spell, and a Mole Cricket, definitely solid. Problem is, I'm going to mill Ogre Dance, Foxy Tune, Nibiru, and Jam Session. And at this point in this list, I was only playing 1 Jam Session, which I think is all you need in a regular format. But in this format, and going into Photon Hypernova with Kelbeck and Agito who can mill your cards, and the Kashtira deck, which can banish half your deck face down, there's so many cards like adjusting your deck's ratios that I feel like I'm forced to play 2 of this card now, which is, since this deck list has been changed, again, this was like my 3rd game with the deck, so I didn't really know how I wanted to do the ratios just yet, but I am playing 2 Jam Session in my current build for the Ishizu cards and Kashtira going forward. So yeah, me milling that Jam Session is going to be quite terrible. My opponent's going to go for the Dugaris, not the Baguska, so that works for me really nicely because I currently didn't have an out. He's going to special summon the Mole Cricket from Graveyard. At this point, my opponent is on, I believe, his 4th summon, which is a really weird position for me. I can't really let him keep going because I'm going to get stopped by Sunflower. So I'm forced to Ash this, but it makes my Nibiru really weird. Nibiru was already going to be weird because I have Fenrir, so I was trying to stop him necessarily from getting to here. I sided this in. I didn't know if it would be good in this matchup, to be honest. Like, there are some turns, like when they're playing, where Nibiru is extremely good versus them, and then there's some times where Nibiru is not. So I sided this because I didn't really have anything else, and honestly, maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. So then I draw Driver. So I have Dead Nibiru, Dead Deernote, Dead Driver, and a Fenrir, so my hand is complete buns, but Desires is a really solid card. And it's a card I've gone back and forth on in the list, whether I want to play it or not. But yeah, I'm going to start my turn with Fenrir, use Fenrir's effect to search for Fenrir. Just kidding, Flashing Fire, pop Fenrir, that's fair enough, because at this point, Fenrir hurts him a lot, just because he didn't really get anywhere either. I'm going to banish E-Telly and Foxy Tune, fair enough. So yeah, Desires has to get there, because my hand is trash, and worst of all, my opponent gets to draw 2 here, which is really strong. Draw Sacred Tree and Destruction. Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. I mean, they were free cards. I'm going to Desires here, and I don't believe my Desires banish is very good either, which makes this weird. Ghost Ogre and Shirakusai. So Desires does let me play, but drawing Ghost Ogre is also a little weird. It's another one-of, so we got like 2 one-ofs here, and we got some weird ways to play Engine. And we banish Nib, Xiamen, Tactics, Gamma, Xiamen, Foxy Tune, Madam Spider, which means I can't go get my trap. I don't even know if the trap was, I think the trap was still in my deck at this point. Called by Wagon and Ogre Dance. So it's nothing like really painful, but it's a lot of engine. I mean, we banished both one of level 3s in Wagon and Madam Spider, so we just don't have those names. And 2 Zeus. So it banished a lot of engine, but it does let me play. So Desires did what it needed to do. And at this point, I pass. And I pass, which seems really weird. I have a play. Why would I pass? So if I go for the Shirakusa line and I fusion summon, he's able to get his Mole Cricket and do Mole Cricket things. And I'm like, I lose to that this turn. So I pass because my opponent has resolved Dugaris and has resolved a Runick spell. So this turn is really interesting for my opponent. He goes to main phase 1, tries to activate Naturia Blessing, to which I say, you don't get main phase 1, right? Because my opponent special summoned one monster from their graveyard in defense position, they skip their next main phase 1, so they can't go from standby into main phase. They also can't go into battle phase because of the Runick spells. And if you don't go battle phase, you don't get main phase 2. If anyone is familiar with the Drytron, Thunder of Ruler, Amorphage, essentially lock that Drytron was going for at the tail end of Nationals format, or even Power of the Elements format when they were being played. Yeah, it's a turn skip. So my opponent he gets a draw phase, a standby phase, and an end phase, and I sort of have to explain that to him. He thought I negated the Dugaris, which, with what? What in my graveyard negates Dugaris? What? And I was like, no, I asked the cricket. So he goes battle phase, and I'm like, bro, you can't do that either. You don't get one of those, so you don't get battle either, right? Yeah, so, I was like, you just go from standby phase to end phase. I'm guessing maybe he didn't know the route or how this interaction works, or he's hoping I don't know how the interaction works because he wants to play, and I'm just like, there will be none of that. There will be no playing right now. So yeah, he just goes straight to end phase and passes, which is, again, why I skipped. Now, my win condition here was, yo, I have to see an out to this cricket or I lose. And we draw Ash Blossom, which is amazing. It's exactly what I set up for. I made the correct play in my mind to win this game, and I sort of got rewarded for it. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and normal summon the Shirakusa, activate his effect to fusion summon. And then my opponent is going to chain the Mole Cricket, to which I Ash Blossom. Fusion for the Rising Carp, and then I'm going to use the Rising Carp effect, Tribute to. Now, before you guys see this play, I want it to be known this was my third game with the deck, and this misplay, yes, I'm about to misplay, is probably just really bad. And looking over the banished again, just to make sure I'm not wrong about this, yes, okay. So, different names from each other, except level 8 monsters. Yeah. So, I'm going to special summon Z-Almond and Deer Note, because I'm like, well, I gotta go for my Jam Drive line, and then I can try to hope he doesn't shuffle my target back, because I know he has the shufflers. That's his, like, real interrupt is this Keldo. I know he has that, so I know my Deer Note's not resolving, but I still go for this line because I think I don't have anything better. You guys can't see it because DB won't let you see the extra deck, but I run Break Sword, Downard, and Zeus in this list. So instead of going for Deer Note, I can go for Shirakusa, the second Shirakusa in my deck, overlay for Break Sword, swing, overlay into Downard, overlay into Zeus, and I have a 2-send Zeus. That can help me draw into something later or just stop him entirely, right? Like, Mole Cricket could come back. It's not going to do anything because it's already been activated this turn. Then I have Ogre, Nib, and double send Zeus. Like, he would have to draw amazing cards with his Runick engine to out that, right? And he just can't under Zeus. So, I didn't go for that line, but currently, if just looking at the current board state, not knowing my opponent's draws, that was the winning play, and I just didn't see it. I went for a play that I know is going to do nothing because I just forgot I ran Zeus. I forgore Zeus. Why do I forgore Zeus? Yeah, that's just tough. Yeah, so this play I know isn't gonna work, but we might still be able to get somewhere. I searched the Shirakusa. I should have specialed, so that's nice. We go for Jam Drive. I can't even activate this effect because I have the Ghost Ogre, and literally everything got banished. So I'm just like, yeah, just 1 Deer Note, target Shark, 2 Zeus-Almond, because I'm trying to go for Amazing Dragon, because that's all I can really do. My opponent's going to use the Shuffler, which is tough. I say Shark because, I mean, let's be real, this name is long, but Yeah, fair enough. My opponent was like, whatever Shark is. Fair. And yeah, so I have a Jam Drive, swing, pass. I have Ogre and Nib. It's not terrible. I still have my friend Driver here. It's really solid. My opponent's going to use Runick Destruction, discard, and my opponent drew another Destruction into a Slumber. He never would have gotten this draw if I had Zeus anyways. But yeah, we just see here, Zeus wins the game. Like, well, wins the game, right? I still have to actually deal the damage, but it's looking like I was always going to be in a position to out whatever he had and get all the damage I needed. So, extremely unfortunate for me in this situation. My opponent's going to go Alsa, to which he's going for Fenrir, and I'm like, I know you're going to get the search off this, but I have to Ogre that because I can't play in a Fenrir. And my opponent has the Slumber too, and I'm like, oh, that's really tough. So 1, 2, 3, 4. My opponent has summoned 4 times. 5th time into Unicorn. So in this game, I actually thought he only summoned 4 times. This Nib is live. Oh, well, that's another misplay. I thought he only summoned 4 times. I think I forgot the Alsa summon because in my head I still hit it with Ghost Ogre, but this is the 5th summon, right? 1, 2, 3, my Fenrir 4, and yeah, Unicorn as the 5th. So yeah, I could have nibbed here as well and at least gotten something, but I don't think the nib here was super great. I mean, like, maybe because I drew Tactics as well, because nib, he's going to bring back the Mole Cricket. So yeah, just a few misplays on my part at the end there, and I'm gonna lose this game, which I think this is actually the first loss I've uploaded on the channel. I also realize I don't upload my losses enough. No, I'm not the perfect duelist. I do make misplays and I do mess up, so it's cool to show a game like that where I did mess up, because this game was super winnable. In fact, I think it was my win if I don't misplay, but I did. Again, 3rd game with the deck. I'm gonna get better with it if I keep testing it. It's a deck I might consider taking to events further on. I'm testing a bunch of different things right now though. But yeah, that is gonna be it for this duel video. It's definitely a longer one, longer than I wanted it to be, but hope you guys enjoyed. I think it was a good game, despite, I mean, me misplaying at the end, so it's P.U.N.K probably should have won. But yeah, I messed up. Again, being new to the deck really hurt me here. And really just forgetting I have Zeus in my extra deck. I put it in there like for tough situations, even though a lot of P.U.N.K decks don't even run the package. I have it and still didn't go for it when it was the game-winning play. So that's tough, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.